Welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, everybody? I hope you guys are doing great today. I know that my day is going great. How's it going, man? Today's a pretty good day. Everything's going okay. I guess I'm excited. I'm excited to get into the next chapter of the series that we're doing here. That we're continuing on the cosmic power within you, which is coming out of this book right here. And we're just going to continue reading the book and see what we get out of chapter 7, and hopefully somebody out there needs to hear it. And at any rate, if you would please, before we get started on that, join me in a moment of silence followed by serenity. Pray for the addict who still suffers, and for those of us who are still in the struggle of that stuff that keeps us bound down. So if you would please join me in a moment of silence. God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started. I'm going to get these on here, and it kind of looks weird, but it's a little sunny out here, so here we go. And chapter 7 starts and titled as The Greatest Secret of the Ages. It starts out by saying, you will never be truly effective in prayer until you awaken the greatest of all truths and the secret of all the Bibles in the world. It is expressed in our Bible in Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one, which means hear, understand, O Israel, illumined or awakened man, the Lord, the lordly power and supreme power, our God, our ruler, the cosmic power is one power, not two, not three, not 10, not 1,000, just one. And it goes on to say the first little story that's out of this thing. It says, the truly effective prayer which transforms your life. And the prayer that they got written down here, it goes like this. It says, God is all there is. God is. This presence and power are within me, flowing through me as harmony, health, peace, joy, right action, abundance, true expression, and inspiration. I am a clear channel for the divine, and I know that I think and feel these truths, I will experience all the blessings of life. I make a habit of this prayer, and wonders happen in my life. This establishes a new cycle of consciousness which transforms my life. Goes on, it's titled, Keep Your Eyes on the Cosmic Beam and Move Ahead in Life. Cease going around in circles. Keep your eyes on the beam of God's glory and move forward in the light. Cease going through life like a stereotyped machine, repeating the same old glitches, thinking the same old way, and reacting in a mechanical way. When your car becomes old, you get a new one. For much the same reason, from time to time, you get a new suit of clothes, a new home, or perhaps a new car, a better office. What about acquiring a new vision, a new image of yourself right now? Accept the best, look forward with anticipation to a most glorious future. Believe it is possible. Live with the image of yourself, and you will experience the joy and thrill of the fulfillment of your dream. You are what you are, you aware. What are you aware of today? What is the level of your perception? You are looking at members of your family. You see your wife, your husband, your children, and you hear them speak, yet there are many things in your home of which you are not aware. You know, if you turned the dial of the television set or radio, you would hear voices and music which were here now. But are you aware of the divinity within you, which can heal, inspire, lift you up, reveal your hidden talents to you? and literally work miracles in your life. This untapped power is always there. Begin now to use it. How a space scientist gets answers in space research. Dr. Lothar von Blechschmidt, an aerospace scientist and member of the Rocket Society who lives near me, told me that whenever he has a problem in the engineering department relative to space projects, he stills the wheels of his mind and affirms quietly, infinite intelligence within me casts light on this project. And suddenly his mind is illuminated with the answers, which sometimes appears as a graph in his mind. Infinite intelligence within him responds to his request. Next story is titled, Get a New Image and Become What You Want to Be. It says you must move mentally from the old patterns of thought and into the realm of your own mind. Dwell on the way you want things to be. If you want to go to San Francisco, you obviously must leave Los Angeles. Likewise, if you want to be happy, to be a happy man, a joyous man, a prosperous man, and a successful man, you must leave behind you as a closed book your old grudges, peeves, negative thinking, and self-denunciation, and get a new self-image. Picture yourself as a man you want to be faithful to the new image, and it will sink down by a process similar to osmosis to your subconscious mind, where it will gestate in the darkness, and after a while it will come forth in your experience as the joy of the answered prayer. You will become a new man in God and go forward from glory to glory. The next story is titled, How Can You Achieve Great Things? It says, direct your mind joyously, positively, and definitely in the direction of advancement, promotion, achievement, and accomplishment. Move mentally and spiritually to establish in your mind a new residence wherein you may live in the mental atmosphere of achieving, accomplishing, and fulfilling your heart's desire. Your assumption that the new image of yourself is real and that you're sensing the reality of it in your mind will cause your idea to gel within you and thereby become a living fact. Don't go home or to work the same way every day. Don't read the same old newspaper all the time. Don't talk the same old way. Avoid the glitches of your everyday speech. Get a new set of friends. Go home by a different route. You may perceive opportunities and values you never saw before. Think about everything and every person from the standpoint of the cosmic power, and you will achieve and accomplish mighty things. How to banish a jinx. Last year I interviewed a man who had gone bankrupt a short time previously. He had developed ulcers and high blood pressure and was, as he said, in a mess. He believed that there was a curse following him, that God was punishing him for his past sins, that God had it in for him, and that he was now reaping his just deserts. All these were false beliefs in his mind. I explained to him that just as long as he believed there was a jinx following him, he would suffer for the simple reason that man's beliefs takes form of as experiences, conditions, and events. I gave him the following prayer which worked miracles in his life. It will do the same for you. And it goes like this. There is but one creator, one presence, and one power. The power is within me as my mind and spirit. This presence moves through me as harmony, health, and peace. I think, speak, and act. From the standpoint of infinite intelligence, I know that thoughts are things. What I feel, I attract, and what I imagine, I become. I constantly dwell on these truths. Divine right action governs my life. Divine law and order reign supreme and operate in all phases of my life. Divine guidance is mine now. Divine success is mine now. Divine prosperity is mine. Divine love fills my soul. Divine wisdom governs all my transactions. Whenever fear or worry come into my mind, I affirm immediately, God is guiding me now, or God knows the answer. I make a habit of this, and I know that miracles are happening in my life. He prayed out loud in this manner 5 or 6 times daily, and at the end of the month, his health was restored, and he was taken in as a partner in a growing concern. His whole life had been transformed. The new idea enthroned in his mind became his master and compelled him to express the riches of life. Ideas are our masters. We are controlled and governed by ideas enthroned in your mind. The divine idea suggests to this man, and watch wonders begin to happen in your life. Next story is titled, Her Belief in One Cosmic Power Healed Her. Recently, I talked to a woman who was being treated with ultrasonic therapy and aspirin for arthritis. She had been praying, but she said, every time I began to think of health, harmony, and peace, the thoughts of incurability, pain, and deformity fill my mind, and I can't think of health. The reason for this was that since infancy, she had been conditioned to a belief in the incurability of many diseases, and since she believed that arthritis is crippling and cannot be healed, she seemed to lack the capacity to deliberately, incisively, and decisively choose health, harmony, and wholeness. She was able to neutralize this attitude. However, after she followed my instructions, I explained to her that the first thing she had to do was to disabuse her mind of a belief in two powers, one causing sickness and the other determining the degree of health. She actually believed in these two powers and failed to perceive the simple truth that cause of a sickness, poverty, misery, and suffering in the world is rather prevalent. Belief in them, which causes the mind to double-minded and unstable in all its ways. She decided to get back on the beam, so to speak, and bringing her mental field of vision into focus, she affirmed boldly as follows: I believe once and for all that there is but one cosmic power which is all wholeness, beauty, and perfection. I know and believe that the greatest secret in life is to know and believe in the one power which is infinitely good and perfect. I consciously claim that the healing love of this power which created me is now dissolving all deposits in my body which do not belong there. I am a temple of the living God, and I glorify God in my body. As she continued in this prayer, her faith in the one power increased. Her belief in an evil power gradually diminished until her conviction of the one cosmic power reigned supreme in her mind. She continued the ultrasonic therapy, and gradually her limbs became subtle. All the calcareous deposits characteristics of arthritis were eliminated. The edema subsided, and her body became a channel for the one presence and the one power which always moves as beauty, love, and peace. Her enthronement of one power in her mind and her belief that it was functioning in her body neutralized everything that contradicted this in her subconscious mind. The next story is titled, Let Your Head Knowledge Become Heart Knowledge. It goes like this. A woman once told me about her wonderful philosophy of life. She had written a thesis called A Way of Life, all of which was very sound scientifically and true spiritually. Yet her personal life was chaotic. She had been divorced 4 times. Her age was 25. She was an alcoholic, and she was unable to pay the rent. I explained to her that her theories postulates and philosophical niceties become embodied and made manifest in her experience. Otherwise, they were meaningless. In other words, her head knowledge had to become heart knowledge. That is to say, she had to assimilate and appropriate these truths until they became a living part of her, in the same way as a piece of bread becomes a part of her bloodstream. Her thoughts, theories, and ideas, while lovely, were not demonstrated in her body, her experience, or her character. The only way she could demonstrate her theories was to put them into practice into her life, which is exactly what she failed to do. I gave her a pattern of prayer as she regularly, systematically filled her mind and heart with these truths. She became completely transformed. This is the prayer she used. God is love, and his love fills my soul. God is peace, and his peace fills my mind and body. God is perfect health, and his health is my health. God is joy, and his joy is my joy, and I feel wonderful. The scientist puts forth a theory or a hypothesis, but before it is generally accepted as a scientific fact, it has to be validated objectively on the screen of space. Otherwise, it remains merely a theory. The thought must be made flesh, which means it must be embodied in your experience. You must demonstrate your religious beliefs in all areas of your life. Next story titled, Why Doesn't God Do Something About War, Crime, and Disease? A man recently said to me, if God exists, why doesn't he stop war and crime and wipe out disease? This same cry is on the lips of many people and has been so for ages. Often you hear people cry, complain, whine, and say, why does God allow me to suffer so? Why did God visit the sickness on me? Why am so good? Or am I so good? I follow all the rules and tenets of the church, and yet I am suffering. Why? The answer is rather simple. I am glad to say, and that is God, the cosmic power, which is infinite mind, infinite intelligence, and infinite life, indwells each man, and every time man thinks he is using the creative power for good or for evil. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, man is what he thinks all day long, and the Bible says, as he think in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. Goes on to say, occasionally I visit people in the hospital, and some say, why did this happen to me? I hate no one. Others say, God is punishing me. Why? The explanation is the cure in most cases. If you think good, good follows. If you think evil, evil follows. Down through the ages, that theologians have brainwashed and hypnotized people into believing that evil was caused by a devil with hoofs and horns, bat-like ears, and a pointed tail which stings, a sort of hideous monster that tempts us to do evil. There is no such being. It is a figment of the imagination and a projection of the distorted, twisted imagination of man. When we are very young, our minds are impressionable, and we are not capable of indulging in abstract reasoning. Therefore, we accept these weird pictures which are suggested by our parents and others just the same as if you hypnotized a person and said to him, you now see a snake crawling across the room. His subconscious would automatically accept that suggestion, and he would see the thought form of a snake. To him, it would seem to be real. This is why you read that Martin Luther King threw an inkwell at the devil, which was nothing more nor less than a projection of his own thought caused by the illusions and delusions of his mind regarding good and evil. The next story goes, the superstitious origin of the belief in two powers. When we were children, we thought only in pictures or mental images, and not knowing better, we projected these images of God and a devil. We envisaged God up to the heavens and the devil below, somewhere in hell, not realizing that in actual fact we create our own heaven and our own hell by the way we think, feel, and believe. Primitive man in the jungle attributed pleasures to the gods of all pain and suffering, to evil spirits or devils of his own creation. Prehistoric man realized that he was subject to forces over which he seemed to have no control. The sun gave him heat, but it also scorched the earth. The fire burned him, the thunder terrified him, the water flooded his lands, and his cattle were drowned. His understanding of external powers consisted of primitive and fundamental beliefs in many types of gods. From this crude reasoning, he proceeded to supplicate the intelligence of the winds, the stars, and the waters, hoping they would hear him and answer his prayers. He proceeded to make offerings and sacrifices to the gods of the wind and the rain. Primitive man divided the gods into beneficial and malignant powers, hence the universities of these two characters in all systems of religion. Today, we have a hangover from these old age superstitious beliefs. Next story goes on to say, your freedom to choose health, happiness, and prosperity. When I was a very young boy, and before I had the ability to think abstractly, I was told that God was a beneficent, kindly old man up in heaven with angels all around him, that the streets of heaven were paved with gold, and that it would be good. I would someday go to heaven, but if I was bad, I would go to hell. Man is a free being, and he has the freedom to become a cutthroat, a gangster, a murderer, or a healthy, happy, joyous, and prosperous man dedicated to God, to his country, and to the world. Man is not compelled to be good. He has freedom to be good or to be bad. If he were compelled to be good, there would be no freedom. Man would be an automaton with a free choice or free will, with no free choice or free will. All of our suffering, pain, and misery are due to our ignorance, misuse of misapplications of the universal laws and principles. Our ignorance of the laws of life must yield to the wise use of both these laws and those of the universe. There is only one creative power, but it is called by many names, such as God, Allah, Brahma, reality, cosmic power, etc. In the absolute sense, this power moves as unity, harmony, peace, beauty, order, rhythm, and love, but man has freedom to use this power constructively or destructively as he chooses. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse, a blessing if ye obey the commandments, and a curse if you will not obey. Deuteronomy 11:26-28. There is only one cosmic power, and I would like to insist that you can never really experience true happiness and true peace of mind until you acquire a deep and abiding conviction in the one presence and the one power operating in your life. Your real freedom from want, fear, and sickness comes with your new awareness, conviction, and absolute belief in one power in which there are no divisions or quarrels. There cannot be two powers. One would cancel out the other, and there would be chaos everywhere. Become an open channel and let God's love, harmony, and peace flow through you at all times. Next story goes on entitled, The Knowledge That Gives You Peace, Harmony, and Answers to Your Problems. God is infinite, and infinity cannot be divided or multiplied. The Bible says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all things. Isaiah 45:7. Goes on to say, the Bible quotation dramatizes and portrays lucidity, that there is but one power which you can use to give you light, which means that when called upon consciously by you, infinite intelligence will cast light on any problem. You create darkness when you say, I'm stymied, I'm blocked, there is no way out. It's hopeless. By your conscious decree, when you have adopted this mental attitude, you are simply saying infinite intelligence does not know the way out. And according to your belief, you live in darkness and confusion created by your ignorance or misuse of the cosmic power. You create peace by dwelling mentally on whatsoever things are true, lovely, noble, and godlike. You create evil in your experience by thinking negatively, viciously, and destructively. In other words, you ask yourself this question: how am I using this power? When you use it constructively, harmoniously, and according to its nature, you may call it God in action. And when you use it destructively, negatively, and the contrary to its nature, you may call it the devil or Satan. The next story goes on to say, good and evil in your life are determined by your thoughts. All forces of nature may be used two ways. How can any man on the face of the earth become a new man and experience a new birth? Or an inner transformation, except he understands the simple truth expounded here. Remember, you can never really grow and advance spiritually until you come to the absolute conviction that there is but one power. I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory will not give it to another, neither my praise to graven's image. Isaiah 42:8. Goes on to say, you can use electricity to vacuum the floor, to illuminate your home, or to kill someone. You can use water to drown a child or to give birth in a bath. The same wind that drives a ship onto the rocks will carry it to safety. You can use nitric acid constructively in various chemicals and industrial processes, or you can use it to blind someone. You can use atomic energy to drive ships across an ocean or to destroy cities, towns, and people. Good and evil are in the mind of the individual. They are nowhere else. Whether a thing is good or bad depends on the use to which it is put, and the final analysis that is determined by the thought of man. Next story is, you become what you contemplate. Believing nothing you do not understand. Put it on the shelf of your mind and say to yourself, my higher self sheds light on this subject. Every belief tends to manifest itself. For example, if you believe you have to come back again and again to this plane to expiate for your sins, you are definitely placing yourself in chains of bondage and thraldom, thereby inhibiting your spiritual growth. Think big from now on. Enlarge your vision. Contemplate freedom, peace, and mind, abundance, and goodwill to all. You become what you contemplate. Your new self-image has its own mathematics and its own power of self-expression. There is nothing to oppose you, so there is no cause for anxiety or worry. Your heavenly vision. Turn your eyes to the cosmic power within yourself. We'll read that again. Your heavenly vision. Turn your eyes to the cosmic power within and keep yourself on the beam of God's glory, and you will rise higher, and every day you will go from power to power, from octave to octave, from glory to glory. God keep you in this path now and forevermore. Okay, well, there you go. That is chapter 7 of the Cosmic Power Within You. So let's go back and summarize this a little bit. You know, to me, this whole chapter, it seems that it's talking about thinking in certain ways. You know what I mean? And it seems to me that it's interpreting that you, whatever it is or however it is that you as a person, everybody's different, and everybody has different thoughts and different things they think about every single day. And I believe that what the message that those stories were saying is that if you think negatively, if you think dark, then that is exactly what you get. Those are the types of projections, those are the types of manifestations that are going to come into fruition in your life. And you may be wondering, I say, man, I've been struggling for a long time. I've been, and I can attest to this in a true story in my own personal journey, that when I relapsed after having 10 years of sobriety, that relapse lasted 5 years. And I could attest that everything that I thought about, everything that was a thought in my mind, an action that resulted out of a thought that I had, were all dark thoughts. They were all negative thoughts. They were all thoughts coming from fear, from being angry, from childhood traumatic experiences, from the addiction. And it seems to me that the thought processes and the patterns that people have, because it goes kind of back to that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I beg to differ on that, because I was thinking a certain way, and that's the way I lived my life for 5 years, and until I got an awakening and decided that, hey, you know what, we got to transform your mental thought process and engage in it on a repetitive basis, and do this every day. Because it got me thinking, okay, you were sober at one point in time for 10 years. What did you do? I'm like, well, what I did was I heard somebody's story. I was sitting in a meeting, I heard a guy's story, and I decided that I'm going to do what that guy's doing. And that's what I did. And it got me 10 years of sobriety. And because of things that life threw at me, being complacent, and then when you get hit with a ton of bricks, it's kind of hard to get up, but you can get up. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, it took me 5 years to get back up, but nonetheless, I'm here. I'm up. I'm happy, and I'm dancing. You know what I mean? And it's great. And it is only through the powers of the cosmic power of my divinity, my higher power, my God. Whether my God is the same God that you believe in, I have no idea, because I don't know what happens in your mind. Everybody's mind different. That is the beauty of this, that everybody's mind is different. But here's the kicker, is that just because everybody's different doesn't mean that our higher power gave us different things to use to deal with adversities. And the truth of the matter is that he gave us all the same thing. And the reason that we all think differently is because of the power that he gave us, which is free will. We have free will to pick and choose whatever it is that goes into your mind and stays in your subconscious mind. In turn, there gives you a feeling. In turn, there gives you an action. And I just think that it's amazing that we have a major, major, major gift that unfortunately a lot of the human race takes for granted. And Just like one of the stories said, most of the time the answers to your adversities are the adversity. You know what I mean? The answers to you moving on and doing this or doing that, whatever it is that your struggle is probably 99.9% of the time in that adversity. You know what I mean? You just have to take inventory. You have to dissect where it is in your life that what it is. I mean, because ultimately each one of us knows exactly why we are where we are. We know what it is that got us where we're at, and we know what we're doing to stay, and we know the things that are a struggle for us to keep moving. And I know myself personally, it was drug addiction. I enjoyed getting high. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. I like to freaking get high. And I know that if I get high, I can't manage my life. That's the bottom line. I can manage getting high. I mean, I'm a pro at that. But if I want to manage my life for the better, if I want to see prosperity, if I want to see positivity, if I want to see spirituality, then I got to go to my higher power, who has it playing. And I guess he's got it laid out for you. Do this, and this happens. You know what I mean? It's really that simple. I mean, it's the same thing as going to an AA meeting or an NA meeting or a peer support group and following the steps of people who have gone before you, who have multiple years of sobriety. Why try to reinvent the wheel when the answers and there's people who have already done it, who've already gone through those adversities and who had spun that wheel 1,000 different times and have a method that works. You know what I mean? I was at a motivational seminar one time, and Mr. John Maxwell was speaking, and Mr. Maxwell says that he tells he let us know that he goes, you know what? Most millionaires, or all the millionaires that I know, they failed. They were pretty good at failing. But until they started doing what a millionaire does and stays there, they started the pattern. It's a pattern. And they did what millionaires do. If you do what millionaires do, then you'll become a millionaire. If you do what sober people do, you'll be sober. If Larry Bird didn't shoot 500 free throws every morning since he was in high school, would he have been a 6-7 time world champion or whatever ship it was? Would he have gotten that many championships? Would he have even been in the NBA? Who knows? Probably not. You know what I mean? But because he practiced every single day, did these repetitive things, and most of those stories were just that they chanted these prayers, different prayers, every single day of their life, and still continue to do it, is when they got results. And I could attest to that because, since I've been back in the spirituality and recovery community, and I do that. I meditate every single day. I pray every single day. I chant, prayers and things that I want to come into fruition in my life, and I do that on a consistent basis. I do it every single day and every single night. And sometimes I'll do it, 3 or 4 times throughout the day. But this is just something that's constantly on my mind. There's just nothing but positive and spiritual things that I try to let into my subconscious mind. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think about a lot of stuff, but I try to just weed out the negativity. and I don't do too much social media except for doing these videos, and it's just something encouraging and something that I want to do to try to help the next guy, you know what I mean, the next girl, whoever needs to hear it. And I believe that people need to hear things like this, you know what I mean. A lot of people don't like to get up and read a story. They don't like to read. They don't like to get books and read them. And there's a lot of information in books, you know what I mean. And just one of the things that I have incorporated into what I call my recovery arsenal that helps me to live the lifestyle and to continue to be spiritually and positively motivated. And so yeah, so I guess, man, I guess that's gonna be it for today. I hope that you really got something out of today's reading, and that it helps you. And if you would please, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if, just know that when you do hit that subscribe button, it doesn't cost you a thing, but know that when you do that, you will be helping out another veteran, another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSD, childhood traumatic experiences, drug addiction, alcohol, being depressed, suicidal thoughts, all of those types of neurological brain disorders, because I, my friends, have dealt with with all of those things at one point in time in my life. And I'm just here as living proof that things do get better. And that's the whole purpose of doing these videos, or to share a message. And I can't share the message unless you share it. So I greatly appreciate you guys sticking with me this long. And I guess we'll see you on the next time on When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug.